Want to say a quick thank you to my YouTube and Patreon members and supporters. If you would like to support the future creation of content on this channel, get some few extra perks and some art sent to your door every month, consider becoming a Patreon or YouTube member. Details and links are in the video description. So we finally got an official word. From Yoshi P about Final Fantasy XVI. I wanted to wait a couple days to get my thoughts around kind of what I was reading before I released a video, and how I wanted to explain to you all why I see the legitimacy in this post. And there's really a lot to unpack from what he said, not only just from the game is coming soon, which the game is absolutely coming soon. After reading this is official. It reads like a throwaway kind of like, as well kind of interview, like an aside, but there are many layers to why this is an official release. This game is coming. I think this game is coming between September and October, somewhere around that area. That was my prediction earlier when I did the video about Final Fantasy XVI and where I think we were, and I stand by that. I'm doubling down on that after reading this. I think we're probably going to get a trailer in May or June. And I think it's going to be a release date trailer. But the thing that really hit me about what he said in this, and we can kind of take it away from the trailer that we got as well last year, that they are going with a much more grounded approach to telling a Final Fantasy story in this game. It's going to be much more grounded. I think it's going to be more mature. I think it's going to be a little bit more gritty. I don't think you're going to get a lot of like cutesy kind of stuff. I mean, you're going to get a little bit of it, I think, a little bit. Because it wouldn't be Final Fantasy or really a Japanese JRPG without that. But I think they're really pushing away from that. Not only pushing away from that, but pushing back against that. Based on what he said, he's basically like, I think it's a very fleshed out story for those who have grown up and realized that reality isn't kind to you and have drifted away from Final Fantasy. We hope that Final Fantasy XVI will be a game that can bring you back, basically bring you back into the fold for the series. We know this game's coming this year. I think a lot of you all have said that Forspoken is going to come out first. I don't think so. I think Forspoken is an experiment for them, but they know Final Fantasy XVI is just people are waiting in the wings to play this game, and they're just the way he sounds in this sounds official, not just like coming out and saying, "Hey guys, I'm really sorry. It's going to take longer than we thought." The way his little blurb reads, to me, it reads like someone who knows they have a release date coming. I think Square-Enix has a release date already in mind. I think they're hammering out the last little bit. He said they're in the final stages of development on the game. It's time to start pushing the hype button again for Final Fantasy XVI. I'm really excited to see what they do with the story, because like I said before, this story seems very much like a Punisher type of story. And I think I'm just going to read the full translation. And again, shout out to Audrey on Twitter at Itaikimochi. She's almost always, if not 90% of the time, very close to 90% of the time, the first one on these translations and stuff. So she's a good person to follow. But it says, we're in the final stages of development. This is directly from Yoshi P, and I'm going to break this down for you. We're in the final stages of development for the new numbered game in the series, Final Fantasy XVI. We aim to deliver a comprehensive game full of story and gameplay. Unlike an online game that involves many players at the same time, Final Fantasy XVI offers a different experience where it focuses on the individual player and immerses you in the story. I think it's a very fleshed out story. For those who have grown up and realized that reality isn't kind to you and have drifted away from Final Fantasy, we hope that Final Fantasy XVI will be a game that can bring back a new passion that you once had with the series. Okay. Marketing speak. Again, we talk a lot about marketing speak on here and who he's really talking to in this statement. He's not talking to Final Fantasy fans. What have I told you all before? Square-Enix is very knowledgeable that the big influx of Final Fantasy XIV players are people who jumped off of World of Warcraft. They just are. This confirms it. So he's saying, he's talking to those players who only play the MMO, that came over from World of Warcraft and other games, that are jumping back into Final Fantasy from this. This is marketing speak, and we're going to talk a little bit about marketing here in a second, but he's talking to all those WoW players and all those players from other MMOs that have jumped onto Final Fantasy as the gateway back into Final Fantasy, and he's telling them, if you like what I've done with Final Fantasy 14, come check out this numbered Final Fantasy. That's why he says specifically here, you know, development for the new numbered game in the series. That's why he says it that way. He's not talking to Final Fantasy fans who are waiting for Final Fantasy 16. He's not talking to us. He's talking to the people that just play the MMO and have nothing to do with the other Final Fantasy games, because they know if they can get 60 to 65% of the people that are currently playing Final Fantasy 14 online to buy this game, Square-Enix is set for the next 2 years. They'll be set for the next 2 years. This game, they know they have the possibility to have like a GOTY, best-selling Game of the Year candidate with this game if they can just get the players on Final Fantasy 14 to buy this game. That's exactly what this press release is. It's marketing speak, which is why I told you all, I think this comes off as more official because some of the things you can break down in here, what he's saying. A lot of you all have told me you didn't quite understand what he's saying with this, but it sounds like there's a new game coming soon. You're absolutely right. The game is almost done. I would say it's done and they're polishing it. I would say it's done and they're polishing it. When it goes gold, that's when he'll come out and say, hey, look, it's off to the printer. The discs are off to the printer. We're working on getting it localized for all these different regions. The game is done. I think I'd say they're probably about a month, 2 months away from that being a thing there in the office. Now, we're going to start, I think this summer, we're going to start seeing ramping up advertising for this game. I think we're going to see it happen. I think it's coming, and it's time to get excited for Final Fantasy 16. So a lot of you all have told me that you would kind of like to pick my brain on how I pick some of these things out of articles and stuff like that. It's just marketing speak. I've written a lot of marketing stuff for, you know, different companies, and you can apply that to video games too. So you can pull certain things out of what is said in these things. A lot of people are like, how do you predict these things so properly and everything? It's all marketing speak. And if you all want to know that kind of stuff, on my Patreon channel, I'm going to start putting videos up. I'm not going to put them on here because it breaks up the algorithm, right? So, and things might fall off. But you can, if you sign up for Patreon, or if you sign up here to be a YouTube member at the mid-tier, I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to start releasing those videos on Patreon and on YouTube for members. And we're going to break down what marketing speak is. We're going to break down what you need to be able to see between the lines. So we're going to start doing that a little bit more, and I'm just going to start giving you all a little bit more insight on what I use to kind of figure these things out. So if you're into that, smash the like button. I appreciate it. And follow me on all the social medias you see right here, Twitter and Instagram. Follow me on there. And I'm excited. It's time to get excited for Final Fantasy 16. I'm ready. I'm ready to get into it. I'm ready to rock. I think we're getting this game September or October. I think it's going to be right around that area. I think October is kind of the sweet spot. I think we're going to get it right there. So until next time, y'all have a great night. Be safe, be good to each other, and keep rocking. I will see you all later tonight on twitch.tv/Ray Coffman. Right down at the bottom of the screen there. So follow me over there, and I'll see y'all later. Have a good night.